In this town, everything looks quiet, but the truth never stays silent. One body, one lie, and everyone is a suspect. When the truth comes out, it doesn't just surface, it bleeds. The truth bleeds out. The first thing I noticed was the blood on my hands. It wasn't a lot, just enough to make my stomach drop and my breath catch in my throat. Dark, sticky, already drying in the cold night air. I stared at my palms like they belonged to someone else, someone capable of things I had never even imagined. Then I heard the sirens. They were far away at first, distant wails echoing through the quiet streets of Raven's Hollow, the kind of small American town where nothing ever really happened. Until it did, until tonight. I wiped my hands on my jeans, smearing the red even more, and whispered, "No. No, no, no." The body lay a few feet away from me. Mark Holloway, beloved high school teacher, married, father of 2, the kind of man everyone trusted, dead. His eyes were open, staring at nothing, a thin line of blood trailing from the corner of his mouth. The smell of iron mixed with damp leaves and cold concrete made my head spin. I hadn't killed him, but standing there in the alley behind the old library, with his blood on my hands and my fingerprints probably everywhere, I knew one thing with terrifying certainty: no one was going to believe me. Raven's Hollow was the kind of town where everyone knew your name, your parents, and every mistake you'd ever made. Gossip traveled faster than the river that cut through the town's heart. Secrets didn't stay buried long, especially not bloody ones, and I already had a reputation. Trouble follows Lena Carter. People liked to say I was 29, a waitress at Miller's Diner, divorced, living alone in a rented house on the edge of town. Not exactly the picture of innocence in a place that thrived on judgment. Mark Holloway had been the last person anyone would expect to be murdered, and I was the last person anyone would expect to be standing over his body. It had started with a phone call. I'd just finished my shift, my feet aching, my head pounding from listening to drunk regulars complain about their lives. When my phone buzzed, unknown number, I almost ignored it. Almost, "Hello," I said, balancing the phone between my shoulder and ear as I locked the diner's back door. "Lena," a man's voice said, calm, familiar, "we need to talk." My stomach tightened. "Mark, please," he said, "just meet me behind the old library." 10 minutes? I don't think that's a good idea. A pause. Then, "If you don't come, I'll tell them everything." The line went dead. I stood there in the cold night, heart hammering. Mark and I hadn't spoken in months. Not since that night. The night I had tried so desperately to forget. I should have walked away. Instead, I got in my car. The alley behind the library was dark, lit only by a flickering street lamp. The building itself had been abandoned for years, its windows boarded up, graffiti crawling along the brick walls like a disease. Mark was already there when I arrived. He looked nervous, older than I remembered. His hands shook as he shoved them into his coat pockets. "You shouldn't have called me," I said. "You shouldn't have threatened me." He shot back. I frowned. "Threatened you?" "Mark, you called me." He laughed, sharp and bitter. "Don't play dumb. You think I don't know what you've been doing?" My chest tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." He stepped closer. Too close. "You've been asking questions." "About that night?" "About the accident. It wasn't an accident," I said before I could stop myself. His eyes darkened. "Careful." The wind howled through the alley, rattling loose trash. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. "You ruined my life," I said, my voice shaking. "You used me, and when things went wrong, you blamed me. I saved you." He snapped. "You think anyone would believe you over me?" I opened my mouth to answer, and that's when everything went wrong. A shadow moved behind him, a blur of motion, a sickening sound, like something heavy hitting flesh. Mark's eyes widened. He staggered, then he fell. I don't remember screaming, but my throat burned like I had. I dropped to my knees beside him, my hands shaking as I touched his chest. Blood soaked through his shirt, warm and real. "No," I whispered. "Mark, please." He didn't move. Footsteps echoed somewhere nearby. Panic slammed into me like a wave. I looked around, expecting to see someone, anyone, but the alley was empty. The shadow was gone. I was alone with a dead man, and the sound of sirens growing closer. I ran. I don't even remember deciding to. My body just moved, survival screaming louder than reason. I tore down the street, my breath coming in ragged gasps, tears blurring my vision. Behind me, Raven's Hollow woke up, doors opened, lights flicked on, and somewhere I knew the police were already being called. I reached my car, hands shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice. When the engine finally roared to life, I looked back at the alley one last time. That's when I saw it. A figure, standing under the flickering street lamp, watching me. They didn't chase me, they didn't run, they just stood there, calm as death itself, and I realized, with cold, crushing fear, whoever killed Mark Holloway wanted me to take the fall. By morning, Raven's Hollow knew. It always did. I woke to the sound of knocking, hard, official, the kind that doesn't stop until it gets what it wants. My head throbbed, my mouth tasted like metal, and for one terrifying second, I convinced myself the night had been a dream. Then I saw my jeans on the floor, still stained. My heart dropped. Lena Carter. Man's voice called from the other side of the door. Police, open up. I didn't have a choice. Detective Evan Brooks stood on my porch like he belonged there, tall, mid-40s, calm eyes that missed nothing. Behind him was Officer Dana Ruiz, hand resting casually on her holster. Rough night. Brooks asked. I swallowed. What is this about? You know Mark Holloway. The name hit like a punch. Yes. Mind if we come in? I stepped aside. They didn't waste time. Brooks noticed the coffee table, the half-packed boxes in the corner, the way my hands shook when I sat. You were seen near the old library last night, he said. My pulse spiked. Seen by who? A few residents heard shouting. One neighbor recognized your car. Of course they did. Small towns never forget a face or a grudge. He was already dead when I found him. I said, someone else was there. I swear, Brooks studied me for a long moment. Funny thing is, Lena, no one else saw anyone. Ruiz handed him a photo, Mark on the ground, blood everywhere. I turned away, gagging. You had a history with him. Brooks continued, care to explain? I laughed weakly. People talk, that doesn't mean anything. People don't just talk, he said. They whisper about arguments, about secrets. My chest tightened. I didn't kill him. We'll see. Brooks replied. They took my statement, then my clothes, then they left. But the looks they gave me said it all. I was already guilty. The diner was silent when I walked in that afternoon. Forks stopped midair. Conversations died. Eyes followed me like I was something dangerous. Miller didn't even meet my gaze. Go home, Lena. I need the shift, I said. He shook his head. Not today. I turned and ran straight into Sarah Holloway, Mark's wife. Her eyes were red, her face hollow, grief twisted into something sharp. Ugly, you, she whispered. I opened my mouth. She slapped me hard. You stole my husband, she said, tears spilling, and now you've killed him. I didn't. You were the last one with him. She screamed. Everyone knows it. Hands grabbed her. Someone pulled her away, but the damage was done. Raven's Hollow had chosen its villain, and it was me. That night, I sat alone in my house, lights off, curtains drawn. I replayed the alley again and again, the shadow, the sound, the figure under the street lamp. Someone wanted Mark dead, and someone wanted me blamed. I opened my laptop and searched Mark Holloway's name. Buried under praise and condolences was one small article from years ago. Local student injured and hit and run, case closed. My blood ran cold. The accident, the one Mark had sworn me to silence about. I clicked deeper. The student's name appeared. Emily Ross, 16 years old, severe injuries, driver never found, and listed under witness testimony. Mark Holloway. My hands trembled. Mark hadn't just lied to protect himself. He'd lied to bury something far worse. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single message. Stop digging. Or you're next. I stared at the screen, fear crawling up my spine. They were watching me, and they were close. Outside, a car engine idled. I peeked through the curtain. The same figure from the alley stood across the street, half hidden in the dark, waiting, smiling. Whoever killed Mark Holloway wasn't done yet, and if I didn't find the truth, I wouldn't survive long enough to clear my name. The knock didn't come. The window shattered instead. Glass exploded across my living room, and I hit the floor just as something heavy crashed onto the couch where I'd been sitting seconds before. My ears rang. My heart slammed so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Lena, a voice hissed. I looked up. Evan Brooks, the detective, crouched near the broken window, gun raised, eyes sharp. You okay? I nodded, barely able to breathe. They're here. I know, he said quietly, and I think I know who. We didn't go to the station. Instead, Brooks drove me to a place no one would think to look. The old river maintenance shed, abandoned since the floods 10 years ago. The river churned outside. Dark and loud, like it was angry about something. You shouldn't trust me, I said as he locked the door behind us. I shouldn't, he agreed, but nothing about this case adds up. He spread photos across a dusty table. Mark Holloway, the alley, the hit, and run file. Mark wasn't just a witness. Brooks said he was driving the car that night. My knees went weak. Emily Ross. She tried to talk. Brooks continued. Years later, someone scared her into silence. Mark. I whispered. Brooks shook his head. Not alone. He slid one last photo forward. Sarah Holloway, Mark's wife. My breath caught. No, she was there that night, Brooks said, covering for him, cleaning up. And when Mark threatened to confess to save himself, she panicked. The smiling face from the street lamp flashed in my mind. Sarah, the door creaked. A slow clap echoed through the shed. Well done, detective. Sarah's voice said, almost impressive. She stepped inside, gun in hand, eyes empty of grief now, only rage. He was going to ruin everything, she said calmly. I built a life on that lie. You murdered him, I said. I corrected a mistake. She replied, and you were convenient. Sirens wailed in the distance. Sarah's smile faded. You should have stayed quiet, she said, raising gun. The shot rang out. I don't remember falling. I remember the cold water. The river swallowed me whole, dragging me under, burning my lungs. Hands grabbed me, strong, desperate, pulling me back to the surface. I coughed, screamed, gasped. Police lights flooded the riverbank. Sarah Holloway stood, frozen, gun slipping from her fingers. It's over, Brooks said. 3 weeks later, Raven's Hollow was quiet again. Too quiet, Sarah confessed. Emily Ross testified. The truth surfaced, ugly and undeniable. I was cleared, not forgiven. Some people still looked away when they saw me, but I could live with that. I stood by the river, scars healing, watching the water move on. So would I, because the truth doesn't stay buried forever. It bleeds out, and when it does, someone always has to pay. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.